Good morning. Sunday, June 21st. This story is about keeping your mouth shut. It's about the need for secrecy. And it took place in the 1940s. And this piece of history deals with the atomic bomb. Just try and think about what happens with the running of the government, and I will tell you about the differences that occurred in 1942. Because in 1942, the United States was planning to build an atomic bomb, because they knew very well that Germany was working on such a weapon. And so they had Oppenheimer and his group ready to go, but they needed money. They needed funding to get this job done. And in order to get funding, you would have to pass a lot of bills in Congress to get that money appropriated. And we're talking about $2 billion, which is probably the equivalent of 80 or $100 billion today. And so President Roosevelt and his team had to keep this bomb building exercise a secret. And they couldn't afford to have too many people in Congress aware of what was going on, because in those days the expression was loose lips sink ship. So can you imagine having to raise $2 billion in those days and not being able to tell the congressmen or the senators what the money was for? And Roosevelt managed to do that. And there were a half a dozen different congressmen that were involved, and some senators, and a very small committee of people who worked on keeping the Manhattan Project, as they called it, a major secret. And this was no easy thing to do, because in Tennessee, the state where a lot of this work was being done and where the bomb was actually being built, the government had constructed a complex that was completely fenced in, and nobody who didn't have a special pass or something could ever get into this place. And the people who saw it didn't know what was going on inside. And that is where they were constructing the atomic bomb. And that is where all the workers who were doing the work associated with putting this bomb together stayed. And I'm not sure if these people ever went home for lunch, because when I saw pictures of this area, it was a huge encampment with many housing arrangements attached. So it was a phenomenal feat that the president and his team put together. A secret weapon was being built, and nobody really got an inkling of it. And the story that was written about it by a reporter about those events that took place, she had to go through many libraries and many personal documents of senators and congressmen who were somehow or other involved in this project, and some military people who were involved in this project. She was able to get some of the documents that those people produced, and some of the diary entries that those people produced, in order to put together this story about the silence that surrounded the creation of the atomic bomb. It's an amazing feat when you think about it, because this is not something that happened in a day or 2 days or 5 days. This is something that took a couple of years to reach fruition. Think about that. Think about our country right now. Think about if we could ever keep quiet with the lunatics that we have running around in Congress and the Senate. Imagine what Marjorie Taylor Greene or Bobart or one of those people would do if they found out about this. They would be broadcasting it all over the universe and condemning it for some reason. No, this was a major secret project that was pulled off with a monumental effort. And the reporter who wrote about this just thought that she originally was going to find all the information she needed. And so she went and she Googled it and she found nothing. That's how secretive this event was in our history. There were several people, major people who were involved in it, but they didn't spill the beans. And she had to search through libraries and old newspapers, etc. And finally, she found something that gave her a clue as to where to look for some major information about this project. Because everybody who worked on this project knew the importance of secrecy. And so many of them may have written documents that related to the Manhattan Project. But those things were never published. They were put into the libraries of some universities and places like that. But she did find one very telling document. It was a book written by Senator Elmer Thomas of Oklahoma, who at that time was the chairman of the Appropriations Subcommittee on Military Spending. And in his book, 40 Years a Legislator, he had the budgetary tables of money spent on the Manhattan Project. And he said in his book, those tables had never been shared with Congress outside of two meetings. Do you believe that? Well, apparently it's true. At no time during the considerations of appropriations dealing with the prosecution of war was the atomic bomb ever mentioned. And during the war years, he said, we had no knowledge in the committee as to what appropriations were available and used for that purpose. So here we were building this bomb with secret money from somewhere. Where in the budget had the administration hidden this money for the bomb? And finding a bill that passed 8 decades ago is harder than you think. But this intrepid reporter stuck with it. And then on one page, she found this innocuous phrase that hid 800 million secret dollars under the phrasing expediting production. And what that really meant is building the A-bomb. So I leave you with that. Raising money, unknown money, keeping it a secret in the 1940s was a monumental task. But think about what would happen if that was going on today. It would be all over the TV channels, the radio, news, everything. So we've come a long way, baby. Have a great day. Bye.